Let's start. Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Kazakhstan American Corner programs. My name is Saltnat. I am American Corner Nur-Sultan coordinator. And today is our already last session and ACK English Teacher Development series. We're so excited to have you again. Anyway, even it's the last time, let's do it. Thank you for joining. And also today I will be with you along as always with my colleague behind the scene, Basan, who will be serving you as a moderator. Let's see, here is a list of all our webinars that we had before. And today exactly, we will talk about using debate in foreign language teaching. Yeah, also I'd like to remind you that session duration is about 60 minutes and we kindly ask you to stay till the end and let's be active as always in our chat, write and answer the questions that we will have. Some of our rules, as usual, also we emailed you information about our YouTube channel where we have 3 previous sessions. The fourth one, the last one, also will be in our YouTube channel, which is called Kazakhstan American Corners. That's all. I will hand you over to our virtual English language fellow from US Department of State program, Mr. August Garnsey. Hello, August. Oh, August, I can't hear you.
There we go. That would have been difficult for 60 minutes of muted. So thank you, Sultan, for the warm welcome. And good evening to all the wonderful participants from all across Kazakhstan that are joining us this evening and my morning time. So always a pleasure every single week to be able to join Sultanat and all of you across Kazakhstan for these webinars. So this is the last one webinar in this specific series, but do not fear, there will be more webinars, some really cool ones coming up here a little later this month and also into June. So I will be providing some more kind of summertime programming for not just teachers, but also just for other English language learners in general as well too. So stay tuned for more information coming about some of those other opportunities for webinars later this month and also in next month in June. So let's go ahead and let me share my screen here. Okay.
Looks great.
Okay. All right. Let me get this out of the way here. Okay. Oops. There we go. Trying to just minimize that, but it's not working. There we go. Okay. So welcome everybody. So as Sultanat mentioned, so today, the 4th session, we will be focusing on using debates in foreign language teaching. I will be joined here by a very special guest speaker here, one that I have worked closely with before in Kazakhstan, Kamila Rakhymzhanova, and she will be joining me a little bit later here tonight. Okay, so today's topic and title is Using Debates in Foreign Language Teaching. Now, for those of you that are new, again, just a couple points about me. So I am the current English language fellow here for Nur-Sultan. I do currently teach remotely, virtually here from Florida at Eurasian National University. I work with graduate and undergraduate students in the Foreign Languages Theory and Practice Department, as well as another joy that I have is I get to work with many different groups of teens all across Kazakhstan through the English Access Micro Scholarship Program, another opportunity provided through the U.S. Department of State, and also, of course, all my wonderful programming through American Corners that I always enjoy every single week. One of the highlights of my work that I've been doing here as a virtual fellow. And something else previously before, I used to be an international English teacher at NIS or NIS Kokshetau. That's actually where I met our invited guest speaker, Kamila at. Okay. And again, everybody here, just your consent of use of photographic image and audio by attending this event. You may be photographed for promotional purposes. Okay. So in this webinar today, we will collectively build an understanding of what a debate is and its significance, Also, identify skills, all skills, I guess I should say, used, including 21st century skills and also soft skills, which are going to be kind of shared and spoken about with my invited co-speaker. You will be able to gain some insights, okay, into just some basic debate structure, you know, in a lesson or even out of a lesson, so informal or kind of formal settings, and also shared between myself and also my co-speaker, Kamila. You will be able to acquire some practical knowledge of a sample of various debate situations, you know, whether it's within professional English, higher education, or secondary education, okay? So just a quick little survey here, and Sultanat is going to provide a link in the chat just to get a little bit more information about who we are here collectively. We have many participants joining us here this evening. And so this just helps us to better target some of our programming, helps to give me some ideas based on some a little bit more about your experience and your background and our wide range of the different types of experience that our teachers have that join us. Okay, so this helps us out going forward. So please click on the link in the chat to complete this little short survey here about who we are. Okay, thank you. So let's start off here first with a little question for all of you, okay? So what I would like to know, and go ahead and feel free to put your answers and responses into the chat. So go ahead and write into the chat. So what do you know about using a debate in foreign language teaching, or maybe when, you know, CBI or content-based instruction, maybe CLIL, or even when English is medium of instruction, any of those kinds of methods is used. Okay, so go ahead and please put your responses to the question in the chat now.
Yeah, let's communicate. We are waiting for your answer. What do you know about using a debate? Or maybe that methods over here.
So any knowledge or experience, anything about what do you know about using debates in your lessons, in the classroom, other kind of experiences maybe outside of your lessons with debates?
I'm sure that everyone actively typing right now. No needs of full of your methods, just shortly. Debates are always difficult to use, say Tatiana. Improve speaking, yes, it is. You mean debates, right? Mm-hmm. Debates are great for developing arguments.
Okay, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Any other ideas?
Definitely
to widen vocabulary.
Vocabulary, speaking vocabulary, yes.
Yeah, it helps to, I mean, using a debate helps to widen vocabulary and stimulates critical thinking. That's true.
Critical thinking. Mm-hmm.
Enhances communication skills. Great way to make your students feel outside of box.
Okay, get outside the box with that kind of thinking. I like it.
And add some speaking confidence. Also, debates need a lot of preparation, especially in lower grades. Yeah, that's true. It could be hard. Give sense of student authority.
I like that. Kind of
or be brave.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, definitely. It needs to be brave. Improve speaking. Debates improve presentation skills. Not just one, that's true. And good way for each student to be heard.
Great. Well, these are all really good responses. And I knew that kind of collectively we could kind of label and identify certain things like the benefits, you know, the things that can be focused on, and maybe even potentially some kind of concerns that we may have when using debates in our lessons or when it's outside of lessons as well. So thank you everyone for those responses. And I'll probably kind of summarize some of what you've just shared over the next few slides here as we kind of explore and kind of lay down a little bit of some basic foundation and a little bit more about what debates are and kind of their significance and why we use them. Okay. And thank you, Sultanat, for sharing those responses. Okay. So what is a debate? And I'm sure that a lot of you already know and have an idea what a debate is. But I wanted to share one that I felt was just really kind of got like the essence. And this actually comes directly from the American Debate League, a nonprofit organization that provides and organizes certain types of competitions and events and opportunities for students to participate in debates, especially in kind of secondary type of education. And what the American Debate League said is that a debate is an organized argument or contest of ideas in which the participants discuss a topic from two opposing sides. And that really is kind of the gist of what a debate is. So again, this organized argument, a lot of us always, we use the word argument when we think about debate. It's highly associated with it, but it's an organized debate. And I like how they label it and put it that way, to discuss, because maybe certain debates don't look like a typical debate, and they maybe look a little bit more like informal discussions, which we'll mention as well throughout this presentation. And of course, different opposing sides, but it may not be two sides. Depends on how you structure your debate, and we'll talk about that shortly here as well too. And just the gist for those that maybe don't have experience conducting a debate, maybe in their lessons or at their school or other institutions. So, one side, you have those that agree with the statement or idea, and that's the pro side. And we may be using some of these terms throughout this presentation, so you're familiar with it. And those who will not agree with the statement or idea are on the con side. And of course, each side will show in an organized and clever way why they believe they have the right answers. Again, it's about persuasive language. It's about providing evidence, about supporting what we say in order to try to convince, whether it's opposition or the judges or the audience. And of course, this is what makes debates really kind of just so significant. So let me get to that here now in the next slide here. So why debates? Okay, so let's get into, so what I've done is I've kind of collected two different sets, like two different lists. Each one has 6 kind of points. Why use a debate? They basically answer that question. So the first one I want to share with you, according to Mandy Manning and Tomoko Nakamura from Teaching Debate in the EFL Classroom, there's 6 things that they listed why use a debate. And I think we all can kind of agree with these. Debating ability, it's a valuable skill. Okay, we mentioned that from the previous question I asked. From your answers, you guys basically hinted at, this is a valuable skill, and it utilizes useful English, meaningful English. Okay, it's often authentic. It's a unique way to teach grammar. Well, we sometimes forget about that when in a debate, but we are still able to kind of effectively teach or show things. Maybe it's kind of not so explicit. And also, of course, as we've mentioned together from the previous question, critical thinking is obviously stimulated and developed. Other things, global issues, potentially, not always the case. And I'll get to that also in a future slide here about topics and things like that, and choices with topics. And also some very important is about a developed research skill. So I really agree with these 6. Now, there's another list that I also want to share with you that I felt that kind of has some more kind of interesting answers as to answering that question, why debate? And this here comes from Dr. Alfred Snyder, and from his book, which is called The Code of Debater, Introduction to the Way of Reason. Okay, so this book's got to be good because it's called The Code of the Debater, right? And here, Dr. Alfred, he lists 6 answers to 6 responses as to why debate. And the first one, I love this response. Debating is fun. Now, a lot of times, maybe it can be potentially a stressful situation, not just for the learners, but sometimes even for us as instructors. This can kind of turn into sometimes a kind of this situation with some of these emotions are going from students, and potentially we may get some stress as well. But debating can be fun, and I hope that I can show you in the coming slides between me and my co-speaker here, Kamila. He also mentioned that debating is a sport of the mind and voice, which I really believe. Debating is controlled by you. Interesting point. And debating creates the skills you need to be successful in life. So to create that success in life, debating does provide those valuable skills. The fifth thing is one thing that I really want to emphasize, and this is something that's kind of not really always said explicitly, but debate can give you the power to change things. And what does that mean? Is that debate kind of helps people to be able to practice and create that kind of functional, useful type of language, the communicative skills that you need to be successful in the 21st century, to be able to be an agent of change, to be this critical thinker, to be the person that can be able to not just follow a group of people, but potentially be able to think critically, assess the situation, break it down and understand, and then be able to communicate why maybe there can be a different way, or why maybe something potentially you have disagree with something, okay? So again, so that's a really important point. So again, two sets of why use a debate, and I think we all can agree with most of these. So let's go into the skills. So which language skills are, improved during debates? And now this is important because, when I asked you the question before, of course, I knew that you would mention probably speaking, which is always kind of the obvious thing, is speaking, of course, like critical thinking skills. But actually, all the skills are used in more. And I'll talk a little bit about some of them, and then also my co-speaker, Kamila, is also going to get a little bit deeper as well. It's about skill usage and things that are actually improved and used in a debate. So of course, speaking. Now, one thing about speaking, it's really the focus is on about appropriate phrasing, argumentative language, functional language. I'll get to that in just a moment. Listening skills, of course, students have to be able to understand different points of view. They have to hear, they have to process. It's active listening. I'm going to share with you a form in a few slides. Basically, it's kind of what I would suggest pay attention you can use during debate for note-taking, okay? Writing skills. I just got to mention note-taking, especially when you provide a sheet to your learners, to your students during the debate to use. Also potentially follow-up written essays, reflections for maybe potentially exam preparation. Reading skills. So argument and research preparation, the amount of reading and research that goes into preparing for debate really is something that's really not always kind of mentioned with a debate, but it's very important, okay? And of course, critical thinking, use at every step during the debate. Really, it helps people, as you mentioned, kind of to think outside the box, to look at things holistically, to be able to assess all the information, bring it together to make a clear point, okay? So these are all skills that are used in a debate. Now, here's a little bit more about the functional language and language chunks. I'm a firm believer in the lexical approach. Okay? I really believe that vocabulary can often be learned in the most meaningful way through language chunks. And whether it's in writing or speaking, any kind of like academic English, functional language is absolutely critical and must be used and used appropriately. So here's like just an example, if you're kind of wondering what I kind of mean by some functional language specifically, that would be most appropriate for debates. And you can kind of see from this chart here, language chunks that can be used to set up whether you agree with something or whether you disagree with something, or whether you're trying to provide that contrasting opinion, okay? So what does an EFL debate lesson look like? This can look like so many different forms. It can take so many different shapes. And I think that a lot of us kind of have, maybe there are some stereotypical images we have in our minds, but it doesn't have to be like that, okay? So what does it look like? Well, you're going to focus on a specific topic that's been recently taught. That's typically always usually the most effective type of debate, is when it's something that really relates, that you can bring it into the current unit. You can bring it into the current topic. You can use it as a tool maybe for exam preparation, for assessment preparation coming up. So when you integrate it into that much more meaningfully than just kind of a one-off topic, this is always kind of the best. Other things, a judge's table, okay? So if we're talking about face-to-face learning, actually like a specific table, which is going to be made up of some students who will be evaluating the whole process and assessing each team based on certain criteria. And yes, I did say judge's table made up of the students. judges, not the teacher. And this is what I found that really has been one of the most successful, most meaningful aspects in the organization and how you run a debate in your lesson in a class, is that the judges, not the teacher, are the ones who will grade both teams and finally decide on the winner. Of course, so I mean, you'll be able to play the role of a facilitator. But the thing about it is that by being more of a facilitator in debate, you allow students to feel more independent and they can become more comfortable with the process. And also it helps them to take a little bit more ownership of following the rules and responsibilities and the guidelines for making this a successful debate. So this is kind of a concern that a lot of, I think, you have when it comes to about a debate. Okay, and we're not going to get really super deep into a debate, but I do want us to kind of bring out about some concerns that we have, maybe even some things that have not gone well for us in the past with our experience when using debates. So obviously we all know that a debate is a pretty dynamic type of activity. It can be rather challenging, but it is extremely appropriate for teenagers, or young adults, because they can easily get bored while learning potentially a second or foreign language. So it provides that additional kind of stimulation. Just like, why would we bring games into our lessons? The same reason, to be able to kind of switch things up, a breath of fresh air in our lessons. Okay, so what about intermediate level students? I'm curious. I would like to hear from all of you again. So can debates take place in lower level classes as well as, upper, intermediate, and advanced ones? What do you think? I mean, what are some of your concerns? What do you guys think? So if you can please go ahead and write your responses into the chat. Okay, so we can kind of get a feel for what we kind of feel about it kind of collectively as a group, kind of our perception, our thoughts, and our attitude and feeling about this.
Yeah, we already heard something in the beginning, like someone said about lower level. I saw it here. Yeah, debates need a lot of preparation, especially in lower. Great, said I get on for the previous question, but let's see another options. Maybe someone has another opinion. Could it take place in lower level classes?
What do you guys think? Can this be possible? How could you make it possible? Any kind of concerns you have?
Thank you, Tatiana. You're always being the first. It can be if we give lower students more functional language and the variety of vocabulary. Madina can't. She said, no, I can't. Or Riza, who said, yes, we can. Yes, they can.
Okay, good. So some of us maybe, yes, it's possible. Some of us maybe, no, it's not possible. Maybe yes, maybe when you focus on the grading of language, potentially, okay. What else do we say?
Someone said that we need to give students language frames and prepare some chunks in advance, or maybe by adapting the vocabulary, or if students are provided with the right vocabulary again. Yeah, vocabulary is essential here.
Good point.
Connects to flexibility or maybe specific topics.
Okay. Well, that's good. Good point about specific topics and the front loading of vocabulary. And again, like we mentioned about that functional language. So front loading, of functional language chunks, getting that all out there, almost like in a pre-teach type of situation. So yeah, that is a good point. Maybe that is a good strategy. Okay.
Most of the users, our participants said that it depends to vocabulary. We need to give phrases.
Interesting. Okay. Well, thank you everybody for those responses. So I can have a little bit of a solution too as well. And this is based on my past experience with using debates. It's not just about only debates and things I've done in Kazakhstan, but as well as working with international students and also non-native English speakers in the US as well too. So what I suggest is that, and it was already kind of mentioned here through your responses, is one of the best strategies to really make this work because I'm sure we've been there where we've tried to debate and maybe it just didn't produce the results that we wanted. It didn't look the way that we expected it to look. Simplifying the topics and the statements can be one of the most powerful kind of strategies that you can do to make this work. Of course, front loading language chunks, functional language, making sure that they have the tools in order to be successful with their communicative skills that they're going to be using. But the topic can be the most important thing, actually. It's not about, well, they just don't have a good enough ability in English. It's just not high enough to make this so stimulating and dynamic. But that's not true, as I found out with my experience, because I've held debates that have been successful with learners that were not advanced or even in upper intermediate level. For example, think about this. You could hold a debate over like which pop song is better, okay? Or which subject class is the most fun. And students can actually go ahead and kind of prepare statements already that they're going to have, they can practice so they can feel more confident and be able to share. And there's different ways you can adjust the environment to make this a little bit more kind of welcoming for students. But really the topic is what I feel is just key in order to be able to get the real gist. Again, a debate doesn't mean you have to talk about huge global issues, you know, with these really complex type of statements. It's not necessary, because students with lower English abilities can still optimize and gain, you know, the real true kind of significance, the skills that they can practice and use in a debate with even simple topics like this. And I've done things similar like this about favorite movies. What's the best movie? Who do you prefer more? I mean, I've done this with famous people, things like that. So, you know, these are really good things that you can do. And as well as, don't forget about, what about use of multimedia video clips? Okay, you can actually integrate video clips into your debate, especially now in an online setting. This is actually even much more kind of, you know, it's a lot more realistic now to be able to do this, to be able to use multimedia and video clips in a debate to be able to provide kind of the topic. So that way, again, all learners can kind of maybe visualize the topic or see things a little bit more clearly, and they can take context and things that they see from the video and be able to use it in their statements that they would produce. So again, just a little bit more kind of support and scaffolding for the students through the use of multimedia. So these two things will really help you out with your debate if it's lower level English language learners. Okay. So, and just a few more points about kind of before I turn over to Kamila, a little bit about how can you get a debate going in your EFL classroom. Some things to kind of remember is that, you know, before, you know, you start organizing debates, again, the research, the preparation that goes into it is obviously kind of the most key thing. And all the experiences that I've had, what's been most successful is when students had the time to prepare, okay? If you have really, really confident advanced speakers, sure, you can always do the old pull the topic out of the hat, see what the topic is, have them talk kind of spontaneously, but that only applies to certain learners. For most all other learners in all other situations, they need the preparation time. It's really critical and essential. Things you need to keep in mind: take it serious. It's not to be taken lightly by you. This isn't a way just to fill time, okay? So if you want this to be meaningful, you have to really invest in it, and you have to show that investment to your learners so they can understand the importance and significance. You got to have clear rules. You got to have strict time limits. That's very important, okay? Especially for one thing to think about is that time limits stop shy students from just thinking like, oh my God, like I have to talk for so long. If you tell them it's only a minute, they can feel more confident because they know they only have to talk for 1 minute. And also it limits kind of maybe some of the more advanced students that may kind of sometimes kind of dominate conversations typically in the classroom, and limit their kind of ability and time that they can talk. And of course, props are always nice, and things can always become extracurricular. Okay, so these are some things that you can do to get it going in your EFL classroom. Now, here's just a kind of a little bit brief a sample outline. You can easily, honestly, Google, and when I would Google for debate structure, wow, I mean, you can just find just hundreds of different ways that you can structure, set up a debate. So I won't say that there's really one way to do it. There's not a one shoe, will fit all, feet. It won't work that way, okay? So again, you're gonna know your learners the best. You can modify and adjust the framework, but here's a sample framework. And if you use this kind of framework, you're probably looking about 35 minutes to 60 minutes in time, and basically consists of kind of two teams with a few student members on each team with a small group of students as the judges. And basically you're going to provide first, the first statements, the second people go first with the next statements. There'll be a little break, then there's going to be a rebuttal stage, and then basically final kind of statements will be made by each team, okay? And then the judging happens. It can be a pretty straightforward process with the debate. So this is kind of like a kind of universal kind of way that you can use it to kind of structure, a typical kind of framework. But again, please, you should modify how you want to do it. I don't really want to tell you how you should, but this is maybe just one way to help you get started, okay? Here was an example of what I mentioned earlier about note-taking. I suggest providing a handout like this to your students, okay? And you can see here, this will help them to be more effective note takers, to really work on and practice that important skill in a debate, okay? So again, they can write down notes about what the argument is, their evidence, okay? And so that way they can be, again, active listeners in the debate process. This is very important to maximize all the different skills that can be used in practice in the debates. Okay. I'm sure you're wondering about assessment, and it's not so different than other types of things that you would assess, okay? Clear voice, be able to express their thoughts clearly, effective argument type of language, key language structures, assessing their opening and closing statements, and other things like equal participation, how well they work together collaboratively as a team, effective type of rebuttals that they used, okay? And again, were they following the rules? Okay, so these are things that you can do, and you can provide this kind of criteria to your student judges in advance to make sure that they are assessing, accurately and effectively for these kinds of points. Okay. So just before I turn it over to Kamila here, okay, I know she's been waiting patiently, and she has a lot of great information to share. Not just a little bit more deeper about certain types of skill usage, and also some other informal type of activities, suggestions that you can do, but also her experience with very specific debate in a specific situation that she can tell you about a little bit later. One thing that I just want to share with is about so far during this virtual academic year, as my time as a fellow with Eurasian National University, I've worked and I've been able to participate in multiple debates there with undergraduate students, and they've all been actually quite successful, even virtually. Virtually things can still work out and be quite effective. Now, whether it's in lesson, because I've done debates virtually in lesson, and I've also done it out of lesson, it's kind of extracurricular activities through English clubs as well at Eurasian National University. And each experience was really, really wonderful, and the students really got engaged. They were really invested in it. I got to say, preparation is essential. I've definitely learned that through my experiences with debates here in Kazakhstan at higher level education, is that they need at least probably maybe a week to prepare. Okay, if we're really throwing some really kind of complex statements or topics, they need that time. It's really important and critical. Conducting a poll, maybe the prior week, getting your students involved and coming up with the topics. Don't just give it to them. Ask them, what are some topics? What are some things that they think about? Let them pull and decide on it. And then you can choose a topic from them. And then that can actually really help engagement. Feedback was a really important part. Being able to provide meaningful feedback where I focused on, how well they collaborated, their functional language, the effectiveness and organization of their arguments. And this is really critical. You must give them time for this. Peer feedback, and peer assessment and self-assessment are also really critical as well. I've learned in my experiences. So these are things that, and you can organize it immediately, or maybe as a follow-up task or activity, whether this is in a lesson specifically, you wait till the next lesson. Okay? Now, some other situations here too as well, I just kind of want to briefly mention. One actually that I had the pleasure of getting to learn a little bit more about from a really talented, really active teacher trainer over in Taraz. She actually told me a little bit about a competition that she actually was involved in with her students. She does work at Bill and Innovation Schools, formerly the KTL schools. And this Iron Mind competition has 6 main events, but one of the events kind of interesting is a debate, a team debate, and they use and focus kind of an Australia, Asia style debate style to it. And it was really interesting to hear about kind of the work that she put into having a successful debate for her students. And successfully, her team actually won the debate part of the contest. So congratulations to her. Other things I want to mention too is that my experience in using debates in the US as well. Some of you may not just teach only just like, school age kids, but also you work with adults. And my usage of debates with adults was actually pretty meaningful, especially when I worked with business professionals. When I was partnered with the Japanese expat community, it was one of the things that Japanese managers really wanted to focus on the most when it came to language training was about effective arguments. I guess they really wanted to argue during, board meetings and things like that. But again, it's really an important skill in order to just not be successful academically, but in life and professionally through arguments. And of course, a lot of experiences with international students in the US, in lessons, all different levels, including lower intermediate levels, like I mentioned before as well. Okay, so Sultan, actually, we'll hold off on that. Actually, I don't need the exit ticket yet. Coming up now is going to be Kamila. She's been waiting patiently, and she has a lot of great information. Just to let everybody know kind of how, again, I know Kamila, I mentioned we were colleagues at NIS in Kokshetau. She's absolutely an amazing and talented teacher. I gotta say, I know this firsthand through our experience working and collaborating together. She's an outstanding teacher. She does a lot for not just for her institution, for NISH, but also for the community as well. And she has a lot of great things to share. Okay, thank you, Kamila, for joining us. It's all yours.
Thank you, August. Let me share my screen first. Good evening, dear colleagues. I'm really okay.
Kamila, yeah, feel free to take your time. Yeah, we're
okay. Just a sec. I think now it works. Yeah, just let me know if you can see the screen.
Yes, we can see.
Yes.
Okay, great. Thank you. Okay, let's start. So, good evening, everybody. Good evening, dear colleagues. I'm really happy and delighted to be here as a co-speaker and present my ideas and share my experience on using debating in EFL classroom. But first, let me introduce myself. Okay, so my name is Kamila Rakhymzhanova, and I'm an English language and global perspectives teacher at NIS Kokshetau. I've been teaching English for about 7 years now. I'm a Master of Education and I've graduated from the university in my hometown, Kokshetau. I also did my CELTA and DELTA courses in the UK about 5 years ago. Yeah, along with teaching English, I run a Model United Nations Club at my school, which I also going to be talking about in my presentation. Okay, now we shall begin. So today I'm going to share some ideas and reasons why we should use debating with our students. I'm also going to talk about debating and soft skills. And as I've already mentioned, I'm going to present some ideas and my experience on how to organize Model United Nations with your students. So August and you guys, I have mentioned some really great ideas why we should use debating with our students in our classroom. So yeah, definitely debating enhances your students' English. Yeah, it develops their skills. Yeah, it helps you practice different systems, grammar, vocabulary, functional language. But what I also wanted to highlight here, that along with the language, it develops 21st century skills. Yeah, so we are living in a constantly changing world now. And I think it's very crucial to try and to keep up to date. So that is why I think fostering students' 21st century skills, fostering students' soft skills is really crucial. And I think developing these transferable skills along with hard skills is what each teacher should strive for. So here you can see a scheme, or I would say a description of the 21st century learner. Yeah, you can see some characteristics, and I would like you guys to connect this description to our topic using debating in the EFL classroom. So what soft skills can you develop using debating in your classroom? Can you please type your ideas in the chat box?
Yeah, guys, that would be great. So we look forward to see your responses in the chat. I'm taking a look here to see what we have here.
Yeah, I think some of you have already mentioned these soft skills, but maybe this scheme, this illustration will give you more ideas.
Yeah, is there any other, soft skills that are participants that you can suggest?
Yeah, or transferable skills.
That's a good point, yes. Okay. Looks like I think they're typing.
Okay, yeah.
Okay. All right.
Okay.
Yeah, it looks like you're putting yourself in other shoes. Okay. Timberland, thank you. Okay. So that is important. Yeah, that is definitely, being able to, these these interpersonal type of skills. Okay, being able to see from a different perspective, which is absolutely critical in forming any kind of, we mentioned at the beginning, thinking outside the box. Okay. Yeah. So that's a really good point. Thank you, Tamerlan. It's a good point. Okay, great. Well, thank you guys for the response. Oh, fear of public speaking, I see here. Okay. I see also fear of public speaking. Yeah.
Okay, thank you, dear colleagues. Okay, thank you very much. So yeah, I absolutely agree with you. And I've made a list of some more soft skills which you can develop implementing debating with your students, using debating in your classroom. So you can see them here. Yeah, critical thinking, definitely. I think this is the first soft skill which you will develop when you use debating with your students. Yeah, because this is the core identity of any debate. Yeah, because debating is all about squeezing your brain, yeah, being logical, providing some reasonable arguments, supporting your arguments with strong evidence. So that is why definitely critical thinking. Problem solving is the second one, yeah, because usually when we organize different debating activities, we ask our students to solve various problems, yeah, or issues. And what they need to do, they need to come up with their sustainable solutions. They should be able to anticipate some risks, to anticipate other problems. So that is why I would say problem solving. Media and information literacy. Yeah, I think you will also boost this skill when you use debating with your students, because when you before you start any debate, you need to first prepare for this debate, and you are going to definitely research the issue or research the topic you are given, so that it develops your critical reading in this case. Yeah, so you try to find different sources. You try to identify whether the sources are credible, whether the sources are reliable or not. With advanced students, yeah, you can ask them to identify the perspective of the author, yeah, to identify his purpose, or even maybe identify some potential preferences and biases. So I think it's all about critical reading, and that is why it develops media literacy and information literacy, which are also crucial for students in the 21st century. Yeah, communication, because debating is all about interaction. Yeah, so students interact with each other. They will definitely develop their active listening skills because they need to listen carefully to their peers, to understand the idea they're trying to convey, and they need to come up with their ideas, with their arguments. So communication, definitely. Also leadership, yeah, finally it's leadership. Yeah, because usually we discuss some global issues. Yeah, with advanced students, you can discuss sustainable development goals within your debating activities. So that is why I think leadership, encouraging your students to become more proactive, encouraging your students to take actions, to become change makers. So this is all about leadership. And I think this is also what we should try and do with our students, along with developing hard skills. So I also wanted to present some effective activities which I use with my class, with my students. But before I show the list, dear colleagues, I would like you to share your ideas. Let's brainstorm some activities you use with your students back to your schools. Again, can you please type your answers in the chat box?
Yeah, that's a great idea, Kamila. So yeah, so participants, any suggestions in any kind activities that you've yourself, okay, have maybe tried using in, whether it's just, informal situations in the lessons, again, so please, don't hesitate and provide us with any kind of suggestions for activities.
Yeah, some effective activities or your favorite activities.
Let's see. Okay, we have so Karina, so role playing. Okay, so doing
Good
role
one.
playing.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, that's really good. Okay, we have here conducting a poll or a survey. Okay.
Wow, this is a great activity.
Yeah.
Cool. Thank you. Thank you. Okay.
Yeah.
So here is my list of activities which I usually use with my students. Now, I'm not going to describe all of them because we are short of time. Yeah, and the only thing about these activities which I wanted to highlight that they are absolutely universal. You can use them at any stage of your lesson. Warm up, reflection activity. You can use them to practice speaking, listening, reading or writing. And what I also like about these activities that they not only enhance your students' language skills, both productive and receptive skills, but they also foster their soft skills. And if you scan the QR code here, you can find more information and details about these activities, and you can see the information about the procedure. So I hope this worksheet, these activities will be helpful for you and you can try them with your students. So you can just scan the QR code to see how to organize these activities. Four corners, reading critically, the boxing ring, the secret jar, and the think tank. And I also think August or Sultanat will provide you with this presentation as well, so that you can find this QR anytime.
Yeah,
okay.
we definitely can provide that for participants, yeah.
Okay, great, thank you. Let's move on. So, and as I promised you, guys, I'm going to talk briefly about Model United Nations, which I organize with my students, and I run a Model United Nations club at my school. But before we start this discussion, can you maybe hit a plus in the chat box if you have ever heard about MUN, Model United Nations, or maybe some of you organized a conference?
Let's take a look here. Let's see what the if it's a overwhelming here, unanimous kind of choice. Let's see here. I see looks like so far pluses are in the lead so far here. So I see some pluses, minus. Okay, so from the responses that I'm seeing, it looks like some have heard of it already. Okay.
Yeah, that's great. That's great. So then I can see that you know what Model United Nations is. Yeah, so this is an extracurricular activity where students role play delegates to the United Nations. So they basically simulate United Nations committees. And August has already mentioned some great events you can organize with your students, or you can participate, take part in these events. And Model United Nations is one more option for you, a great option, because this is an internationally recognized event, and I think it's worth trying with your students. Yeah, why? Here we go. Because first, it enhances knowledge of international affairs and procedures, yeah, because it's United Nations. It also develops teamwork, develops leadership and drafting skills. Yeah, it will definitely develop conference organization and management skills, since you are going to take part in different conferences, or you are going to organize your conferences, your school or university conferences. And lastly, it develops global citizenship, which is also crucial. And I think we should also try and promote global citizenship among our students. It might seem a bit complicated, yeah, and maybe too formal at the beginning, but my advice is just give it a go, just try. The only thing you need to do is just to spend a day or maybe two to research the procedure, the rules of Model United Nations, and then you just need to encourage your students to take part in this awesome event. This is the only thing you need to organize a conference. And even during the pandemic, yeah, you can organize it easily online using Zoom, using Microsoft Teams, or any other tools. Yeah. Also, what I wanted to add here, one more advantage of organizing a Model United Nations conference is that it is really great for your CV. Yeah, I've already mentioned that it is recognized in many countries. Yeah, so it will be great for your CV. Yeah, enrolling and encouraging your students into activities like these international activities. And it will be great for your students' CVs as well, because many universities have their Model United Nations Club, and I think they are eager to have potential delegates. They are happy to enroll potential delegates. So that is why I think it will contribute to both your and your students' CVs. So just give it a go, just try and organize one at your school. I'm not going to talk about the structure and about the procedure of Model United Nations. I just wanted to provide you with a list of helpful links. Yeah, you can visit these websites to find more information, more details about United Nations. The first is Best Delegate. So here you can basically find the information on the procedure, how to organize a conference. You will find the information about the key terms related to Model United Nations. And one more link, Model United Nations New Silk Way, which is organized in Kazakhstan, and they organize maybe a conference twice a year. Yeah, so you can also take part in one of their conferences. Yeah, I think this is it. Yeah, I just wanted to encourage you to and promote this debating culture. Yeah, just give it a go, just try. I think you will, and you and your students will enjoy Model United Nations. And if you have any questions related to organizing a conference, yeah, you can contact me anytime. using the email address here. So I will be happy to answer your questions related to Model United Nations and how to organize it with your students. So thank you, August. Thank you, Saltanat. Over to you, August.
All right. Well, thank you, Kamila. That was absolutely just insightful and also quite inspiring too. You know, a lot of us, of course, we've heard of Model UN, but it just always, for a lot of us, it can be such like an intimidating kind of phrase, when you hear that. And there's a lot of ways, like you said, that it doesn't have to be so formal, it doesn't have to be so complex. And again, just preparation. I've tried in the past before with some of my intermediate learners in the US doing like a Model UN. Props were always helpful during the debate, bringing in things, kind of investing, setting up the environment and the situation really can help to kind of make it more kind of meaningful and help get the learners more engaged in it. And yeah, and again, more preparation can also be helpful. But thank you for sharing that about the Model UN. Really, it's a great opportunity for a lot of us to try in some kind of form, some shape, some form, something like that. Okay, so really great. So thank you. So guys, we don't have like a lot of time. Sultan, I know we like to take our family photo here. I like to call it the family photo, right? We still got a time for a photo op here. Why not? We're all, we're just one big happy family here. Well, I'm in Florida right now, so I'm not there in Kazakhstan, but I will be there soon. Hopefully here by the end of the summer, I'll be back in Kazakhstan. But yeah, let's take a group photo, guys. Let's share and celebrate, in this kind of teacher to teacher engagement, which is absolutely one of the main reasons why I even became a teacher, is for these kind of moments like this. So everybody, turn on your cameras, put on your smile, whether you feel like it or not. All right. So, and we can take a picture here, Saltanat.
Great idea, August. Thank you. Maybe we can do something to be different from other Zoom, like something with a hand. Do you have any ideas?
Yeah, we're a wild and crazy group here. English teachers, us, we got a wild side.
Yeah, before it was just like this, and maybe now. Any ideas?
Yeah, any ideas, anyone? What about ideas?
Picture maybe.
I see thumbs up. I see thumbs up. I see.
It was previous one, August.
Oh yeah, we that one. Man, I'm not sure here. Anybody suggestions, guys? Let's see. Oh, I see that. I know probably my students would tell me to do some kind of like BTS symbol or something like that, but maybe not now. So okay, maybe I don't know. We can just like how about, I don't know. We could do hearts. I don't know. Like, what do you guys think here? We don't have time for a quick poll. How about Kamila? You're our special invited guest judge. You be the deciding factor here, okay?
Yeah, I follow some famous people on Instagram, different bloggers, and I think one of the most like favorite gestures among teenagers now is this sign. It's a heart or whatever it is. I think it means love. Yeah,
it is.
We can go with that then. Okay, we'll do it then. My students will be happy. Okay.
You can send it to them.
Yeah. Okay. So let's get our fingers going here. Okay. All right.
Okay. 1, 2, 3. Smile. Good. And I will do it one more time. Just a second. Great. And one more time. 1, 2, 3. Cool. Thank you, dear teacher. Thank you, Kamila, for your presentation. Thank you, August. So yeah, it's last session, but not it's last webinar, last session from this session, but not last session at all. What I want to say. I mean, we'll be back as always. Stay tuned and look after our Instagram page, American Corner _NS from the Nur-Sultan, and everything will be there. Thank you very much. See you soon.
Thank
Have
you
a
very
good
much,
evening.
everybody. Yeah, thank you very much again, everyone. Wonderful teachers of English across Kazakhstan. Always a pleasure. See you later in a little bit then. Maybe a little later in May, we'll have our next session. All right. See you guys again. Enjoy your evening. Enjoy your week. Good luck at the end of the term.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.